Welcome to my interview with my friend Jack. You will quickly see and hear that most of Jack's story is pretty tragic. I'm grateful he took the time to sit and share it with me, and hopefully these snippets will be as enlightening and helpful to you as they have been to me. Hope you enjoy. I was honestly confused when you wrote me on Facebook because I was like, I know this person, and I looked through your profile pictures and I'm like, I know that face, but I was so confused, and I finally put things together, but
Yeah.
first we'll look at the many ways Jack's gender identification was not only disregarded, but was met with disapproval and hateful belligerence.
So, like, one of the things that was really prominent for me was, like, when I was a kid, I used to have a cassette tape, and I listened to it all the time because it was my mom's voice, and I loved it, but I didn't know what was being said on the tape, and I remember, like, my grandfather listening to the tape, and then he sat down with me and was like, he's like, I don't know if you know what's on this tape, and I was like, no, it's just my mom, and he, like, explained to me that it was a recording that my dad had made of my mom offering to sell me to him for like $700 to pay for an apartment.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, I always grew up knowing that, like, I wasn't really, you could say, I mean, like, nobody really wanted me, but they didn't want the other person to have me, so they fought more over that.
Right. Wow.
I mean, I always knew that I felt more like a boy and stuff, but what drove me crazy was like when, especially being around my dad. My dad was worse than any bully I ever dealt with on the playground.
Right.
And so when we would go out somewhere, like if we'd go out to eat and somebody made the mistake of calling me a sir, my dad would make fun of me and be like, oh, and just make me feel like, especially about gender issues. So anytime anybody ever associated me with any gender, it was like such a huge source of anxiety and embarrassment. And my stepmom used to beat the crap out of me if I didn't wear dresses and like girly things and like going back to school shopping. My first inclination was go into the boys section because I always loved all the boys stuff.
Right.
And she would get so mad at me. Sometimes like would hit me in the stores or whatever, and like just force me into this like female box that just did not apply. Then, when we were in high school, like, I came home from school one day, my house was empty, except for my room. That was awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I ended up just kind of, like, couch surfing for a little bit. Yeah, so I had two backpacks. This was in, I think it was like 96 when this happened, but I had two backpacks. That's all I had in the world, man. I had a green backpack and I had a red one. And I lived in a tree house, and like my green backpack had my clothes and like a butterfly knife and like just survival stuff in it. And then my red backpack was like my school stuff. And Sasha Harris and Beth Ricks used to walk through the woods in Oceanside in the very front of the neighborhood and come get me for school and give me rides to and from school. Sometimes I'd go to their houses and take showers or stuff.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. I can't believe you're going through that.
Yeah, and then Miss Skidmore, so one day she decided, she's like, oh, I need to search your backpack. And it was one day that I had been running late and I had grabbed the wrong bag, and so I had a butterfly knife in there. And she was like, oh, and she got the biggest smile on her face. And she's like, we're going to call your parents. And I was like, good luck finding them.
Right. Of course, Jack's story is unique, but the TrevorProject.org tells us that LGB youth are almost 5 times as likely to have attempted suicide compared to heterosexual youth. And LGB youth who come from highly rejecting families like Jack's are 8.4 times as likely to have attempted suicide as LGB peers who reported no or low levels of family rejection.
Even my level of depression, I mean, granted, I had a lot of crazy and like insane things going on in my house, but I think that depression has always kind of been there. So had this have been today's time, because let's face it, like where we're at now, kids are coming out a lot earlier in life, and they actually know what the word transgender means. Like,
right.
I never knew what that was. Like, when I came out as liking girls, I mean, the only resource I had was in the back of Spin magazine. They used to have, like the pen pal things and whatever, and there was a little ad that said if you're lesbian or gay or bisexual or questioning, you could write into them, and then they would hook you up with a pen pal and stuff. And that's what I did, and that's what essentially helped me to get out. When we had like Spirit Days, and I remember like them doing the 50s greaser thing, and all the dudes wore the greaser kind of stuff. That's what I wore. All the girls wore the poodle skirts, and everybody was looking at me like, what the hell? But Blake Brown was like, hell yeah, man. And that was, just that one little bit of acceptance was, it really went a long way with me. And, and like, never put Blake in the category that I did with other people, because Blake never made me feel like that.
Right.
It was some kind of documentary on queer, the term queer, and it was like people that identify as either lesbian or gay or whatever, but they really it was more about not really having a label, but by not having a label, they felt more inclined to gravitate towards the word queer as a source of identification. And the more that I watched it, the more I was like, oh my God, like this is a lot more of like what I'm feeling.
Having had a couple weeks now to process my conversation with Jack, I have come to the conclusion that what was so desperately needed and what is needed now is empathy. Our clients need from us empathy, understanding, and the sparse, timely confrontations we learn about in Practice 1. Shame is this web of unobtainable, conflicting, competing expectations about who we're supposed to be, and it's a straitjacket. Empathy's the antidote to shame. Jack's story is a true example of the resilient nature of the human spirit. He has overcome abuse, neglect, homelessness, and major discrimination for identifying as transgender. The discrimination didn't stop in childhood or adolescence, though. As an adult, he even lost his well-paying job as he began transitioning to male. Now, Jack has started an organization called the Trans Empowerment Project. He's joined the Homeless Youth Council, and he is constantly responding to LGBTQ community needs, setting up programs like clothing swaps. He even started a private Facebook group for foster parents who are willing to provide a caring and supportive environment for trans youth.